Atomic Success, Small Habits, Massive Results by Imperium Audiobooks. Introduction: The Hidden Power of Small Habits. What if the secret to transforming your entire life wasn't a massive leap, but a tiny step? Most people think success is about huge breakthroughs, launching the million-dollar business, writing the best-selling book, getting the perfect job. But here's the truth: your success or failure is determined by what you do every single day. Small habits, the things you do almost without thinking, shape your identity, your results, and ultimately your destiny. Welcome to Atomic Success, Small Habits, Massive Results, brought to you by Imperium Audiobooks. This audiobook is not about making radical overnight changes that burn you out by next week. It's about discovering the power of tiny, consistent actions that compound over time until they create results so big they feel almost impossible. Here's the promise: by the time you finish this audiobook, you will understand the science of habit formation and how to use it to rewire your brain for success. Learn how to break bad habits without relying on willpower alone. Discover the exact steps to build habits so small, so simple, and so automatic that success becomes inevitable. Walk away with a clear, actionable plan for creating lasting change in your health, your work, your finances, and your relationships. By the end of this book, you won't just have a list of good intentions, you'll have the tools to design a life you're proud of, one small habit at a time. What you can expect. We'll break this book into 10 powerful chapters, each one focused on a crucial piece of the habit-building puzzle. You'll learn how habits are formed, why they stick or fail, and how to create a system where good habits flourish and bad habits die off naturally. Think of this as your personal habit-building coach, guiding you step by step to create lasting transformation. Your commitment. Listening is not enough. This book will only work if you work it. So as you listen, commit to taking action, even if it's just one tiny step each day, because small actions done consistently are how you create atomic success. Ready to stop waiting for someday and start building the life you want, one small habit at a time? Then let's begin. In Chapter 1, we'll explore the invisible force that shapes your results and why changing your habits is the fastest way to change your life. Chapter 1. The Habit Blueprint. Why small wins matter more than big goals. Think back to the last time you set a big goal for yourself. Maybe it was to lose 20 pounds, save $10,000, write a book, or finally launch that business idea. At the start, you felt unstoppable. Your energy was high, motivation off the charts. But then, life happened. Work got busy, you felt tired, the excitement wore off, and before long, the big goal that once lit you up started to feel like a burden. This story plays out millions of times every year. Gyms packed in January, but empty by March. Journals filled with fresh resolutions that never see completion, and businesses that die before they get their first customer. Why does this happen? Because most people focus only on the goal, but ignore the process that actually creates results. In this chapter, you'll learn the blueprint of habits, why small wins matter far more than big, ambitious goals, and how those tiny, consistent actions compound into life-changing success. Why big goals often fail. Here's the harsh truth: big goals often set you up for disappointment. When you set a massive target, your brain immediately compares where you are now with where you want to be. That gap feels intimidating, and when progress is slower than expected, most people quit. For example, routine on a lose 20 pounds but only lose 2 in the first month, you feel like a failure. If you want to save $10,000 but only manage $200, it feels pointless. If you want to publish a book but only write 2 chapters in 3 months, you think you'll never finish. The problem isn't you, it's the way goals are structured. They focus on the finish line, not the daily action. That's where habits come in. Habits, the invisible architecture of success. A habit is simply a behavior repeated often enough that it becomes automatic. Think about brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, or checking your phone when it buzzes. You don't debate whether to do these things, you just do them. Now imagine if the habits you had automatically pulled you toward wealth, health, productivity, and happiness. You wouldn't need massive bursts of willpower. Success would simply become your default state. Habits are the architecture behind every achievement. Fit people aren't lucky. They've built exercise and nutrition habits. Wealthy people aren't always smarter. They've built saving, investing, and creating habits. Productive people aren't superhuman. They've built planning, focus, and execution habits. The blueprint of your daily actions determines the structure of your life. Why small wins beat big leaps. Here's the paradox. Massive results don't come from massive effort. They come from small, consistent actions. Think of compound interest. Saving $5 a day feels meaningless, but over 10 years it adds up to tens of thousands of dollars. Habits work the same way. Reading 10 pages a day, 12 books a year. Writing 500 words a day, a full book in 6 months. Walking 20 minutes a day, hundreds of hours of activity a year. At first, small wins seem insignificant, but over time they snowball into extraordinary change. The science of habit formation. Psychologists explain habits through a simple loop. Cue, routine, reward. Cue is the trigger. Example, your alarm goes off. Routine is the action. Example, you lace up your running shoes. Reward is the benefit. Example, you feel energized and proud. Over time, your brain links the cue with the reward, making the routine automatic. Here's the catch. Your brain doesn't care whether the habit is good or bad. It will just as easily automate scrolling social media for an hour as it will reading for an hour. That's why designing the right habit blueprint is so crucial. You want your brain on autopilot for the things that build you up, not break you down. Identity versus outcome goals. Let's compare two different approaches. Run autopilot. I want to run a marathon. Identity goal. I am a runner. The outcome goal is about finishing something once. The identity goal is about becoming someone new. When you shift from outcome to identity, everything changes. Running isn't something you do anymore. It's who you are. Small wins reinforce identity. One run proves I'm the kind of person who runs. One healthy meal proves I'm the kind of person who eats clean. One deposit proves I'm the kind of person who manages money well. Your habits are votes for your identity. The more votes you cast, the stronger your identity becomes. Practical example, the writer. Imagine Sarah, who dreams of writing a novel. She sets the goal. I want to write 80,000 words. Sounds exciting, until she sits down and realizes how huge that number is. But what if Sarah changes her focus? Instead of writing 80,000 words, she builds the habit of writing 500 words a day. That's about 30 minutes of focused work. Day by day, word by word, Sarah's habit stacks. In 6 months, she has a full manuscript. She didn't achieve her dream by chasing the big outcome. She achieved it by trusting the blueprint of small habits. Your assignment. At the end of each chapter, I'll give you something practical to apply. For this chapter, your assignment is simple. Roman Roger. Pick one big goal you currently have. Write it down. Break it into the smallest daily habit that moves you toward it. Big goal. Save $10,000. Small habit. Save $5 a day automatically. Big goal. Run a marathon. Small habit. Put on running shoes and walk 5 minutes. Big goal. Read 50 books. Small habit. Read 10 pages a day. Commit to doing this small habit every day for the next week. Don't worry about perfection. Don't worry about the end result. Just build momentum with small wins. Moving forwards. In this chapter, you've learned why small wins matter more than big leaps, how habits form the blueprint of success, and how shifting your focus from outcome to identity makes your progress sustainable. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into how habits shape your brain and identity, and why changing your habits is the fastest way to change your entire life. Chapter 2. The Identity Shift. Rewiring who you believe you are. If Chapter 1 showed you the blueprint of habits, this chapter is about the foundation that holds everything together, your identity. Here's the truth most self-help books don't tell you. You can build new habits, track them, and even stay consistent for a while. But if those habits conflict with who you believe yourself to be, they won't last. That's why some people lose weight but gain it all back, or get organized for a month but slowly drift back into chaos, or build a business but sabotage it just when it starts to grow. The problem isn't lack of discipline, it's a misaligned identity. This chapter will teach you how to rewrite your internal script so that success is not just something you do but something you are. Why identity is the secret lever. Identity is the deepest layer of human change. Think about the last time you tried to force yourself to do something you didn't believe in. I hate running, but I guess I'll try this marathon training thing. I'm just bad with money, but I'll force myself to save. I'm not a morning person, but I'll wake up at 5 a.m. You might make progress for a few weeks, but sooner or later, your brain pulls you back to your normal. Your brain wants to stay consistent with your self-image, even if that self-image is holding you back. The 3 layers of change. Let's revisit the 3 levels of change we introduced briefly. Outcomes. What you want to achieve. Lose weight. Write a book. Earn more money. Processes. What you do daily. Workouts, writing sessions, sales calls. Identity. What you believe about yourself. I am fit. I am a writer. I am an entrepreneur. Most people start at the outer layer. They chase outcomes. But lasting change happens from the inside out. Start with identity, then build processes that reinforce it, and the outcomes will follow naturally. Your habits are votes. Here's the powerful part. Identity is not fixed. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. When you save money, you cast a vote for I am financially wise. When you work out, you cast a vote for I am an athlete. The first few votes might not feel convincing. That's okay. Identity is built through evidence, and habits are the evidence. Over time, the votes stack up, and you begin to see yourself differently. Example, the smoker. Imagine someone trying to quit smoking. Person A says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." Person B says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." Who do you think succeeds long term? Person A is still tied to the identity of being a smoker. They're just someone trying to stop. Person B has shifted their identity. They're simply not a smoker anymore. This is the power of identity-based change. Rewrite your internal story. To change your life, you have to rewrite the story you tell yourself about who you are. Grab a notebook and answer these questions. Who am I right now? Be honest. Who do I want to become? What would a person like that do every day? What is one small habit I can start today to cast a vote for that identity? For example, I am scattered and unproductive. I am someone who respects my time. I am lazy and unhealthy. I am a person who takes care of their body. I'm terrible with money. I am a wise steward of my finances. Identity statements and affirmation. Once you know the identity you want to adopt, create a short statement that reinforces it. Examples. I am the kind of person who never misses workouts. I am a disciplined creator who writes daily. I am a calm, focused person who makes wise decisions. Repeat these statements often, not as magic spells, but as reminders of what you're working toward. Pair them with small actions to reinforce them. Small actions, big shifts. The goal is not to completely reinvent yourself overnight. Instead, choose the smallest possible action that aligns with your new identity. If you want to be a reader, read 1 page. If you want to be fit, do 1 push-up. If you want to be a saver, transfer $1. It may seem too small to matter, but it matters deeply because it proves to your brain, this is who I am now. Avoid identity traps. Be careful not to lock yourself into negative identities. Watch out for statements like, I've just always been bad with money. I'm a procrastinator. I'm not creative. Each time you repeat those phrases, you reinforce them. Instead, reframe, I am learning how to manage money. I am becoming someone who takes action quickly. I am discovering my creative side. Your assignment, write down 1 negative identity you've been carrying that no longer serves you. Rewrite it into a positive identity statement. Choose 1 small habit you will perform today to prove your new identity. Track your habit for the next 7 days. Each repetition is another vote for the person you want to become. Moving forward, by now you can see that habits are not just about behavior, they are about becoming someone new. In the next chapter, we'll explore the psychology of habit formation in depth, the triggers, rewards, and environment that shape your behavior, so you can design habits that stick effortlessly. Chapter 3. The Habit Loop. triggers, cravings, and rewards that drive behavior. If chapters 1 and 2 gave you the blueprint and the identity shift, this chapter is about the engine that drives every habit, the habit loop. Whether you realize it or not, every single action you take today will follow a pattern. This pattern is not random. It is a predictable cycle that neuroscientists and psychologists have been studying for decades. When you understand this loop, you gain the ability to not just build good habits, but also to break bad ones. Let's break it down step by step. The 4-step habit loop. Researchers at MIT discovered that habits follow a neurological loop consisting of 3 steps: cue, routine, and reward. Later, experts like Charles Duhigg and James Clear expanded this into 4 key components: cue, trigger, the event that starts the habit; craving, motivation, the desire or urge to act; response, action, the habit itself, the behavior you perform; reward, satisfaction, the benefit your brain receives that reinforces the habit. Let's look at each one in detail. 1. Cue, the starting gun. A cue is anything that tells your brain it's time to act. Cues can be external, like a notification ping, or internal, like feeling stressed or bored. Examples: walking into the kitchen, cue; opening the fridge; feeling anxious, cue; biting your nails. Your goal is to become aware of the cues that trigger your behaviors, both good and bad. 2. Craving, the emotional driver. A cue by itself is not enough. You must want what comes next. Cravings are what turn cues into action. They are deeply emotional. You don't just want coffee, you crave alertness. You don't just check Instagram, you crave connection or entertainment. This is important. You are not craving the habit itself, you are craving the change in state it gives you. 3. Response, the action. This is the habit itself. The response could be a thought or a physical action. If you crave connection, your response might be texting a friend. If you crave relief from boredom, your response might be scrolling TikTok. If you crave energy, your response might be drinking water, doing push-ups, or grabbing a coffee. Whether or not you respond depends on how motivated you are and how easy the action is to perform. We'll go deep on ease of action in Chapter 4. 4. Reward, the payoff. Every habit ends with a reward, even bad ones. Rewards satisfy your craving and teach your brain to repeat the loop. If the reward is satisfying, your brain marks the habit as worth remembering. If it's not satisfying, your brain will slowly abandon the habit. The loop in action. An example. Let's look at a common example: the afternoon coffee habit. Cue, it's 3 p.m. and you feel a dip in energy. Craving, you want to feel alert and focused. Response, you head to the kitchen and make coffee. Reward, you feel energized, awake, and ready to finish your work. Do this enough times and your brain starts to anticipate the reward. Eventually, the cue itself, 3 p.m., is enough to create a craving, even if you don't feel tired. This is why habits become automatic. Breaking bad habits, using the loop. Now let's flip the script. Suppose you have a bad habit like mindless social media scrolling. Here's how to break it. Identify the cue. Is it boredom? A notification? A specific time of day? Understand the craving. Are you seeking entertainment, distraction, or connection? Replace the response. Swap scrolling for something healthier, like reading 1 page of a book or taking a 2-minute walk. Keep the reward. You still want the feeling of relief or stimulation, just get it from a better source. The key is not to simply stop the habit, but to replace it with something that satisfies the same craving. Designing good habits using the loop. You can use the same loop to build powerful new habits. Run for make the cue obvious. Place your running shoes by the door. Make the craving attractive. Listen to your favorite podcast only when running. Make the response easy. Commit to running just 5 minutes. Make the reward satisfying. Celebrate afterward, maybe with a warm shower or a check mark on your habit tracker. The more you reinforce the loop, the stronger the habit becomes. Habit stacking, a powerful technique. One of the best ways to leverage the habit loop is habit stacking, linking a new habit to an existing one. Formula: after current habit, I will new habit. Examples: after I brush my teeth, I will floss one tooth. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write one sentence. After I sit down at my desk, I will put on noise-canceling headphones. This works because your existing habit becomes the cue for your new habit. Your assignment: pick one habit you want to build, write down its cue, craving, response and reward. Pick one habit you want to break, identify its cue and craving, then brainstorm 3 healthier responses that can satisfy the same craving. Experiment with habit stacking this week. Attach one new habit to an old one and track how often you succeed. Moving forward, by now you understand the habit loop, the neurological cycle that drives every behavior. This is the key to both building good habits and breaking bad ones. But there's one more piece of the puzzle: your environment. If your surroundings don't support your habits, they will always be harder to maintain. In the next chapter, we'll learn how to design your environment for effortless success, making good habits the default choice and bad habits nearly impossible. Chapter 4. Designing your environment for success. Imagine this. You've decided to eat healthier. You're motivated. You've read books, watched videos, even made a meal plan. But when you open your fridge, the first thing you see is soda, leftover pizza, and half a cake from last night. Your brain doesn't stand a chance. The truth is this: your environment drives your behavior far more than willpower ever will. Most people think they fail because they lack discipline, but the real problem is that they've built their habits in an environment designed for their old self. This chapter will teach you how to shape your surroundings so that good habits become almost automatic and bad habits become difficult, even impossible to perform. Why environment matters more than motivation. Here's a tough pill to swallow. Motivation is overrated. Motivation is like a spark, powerful, but it burns out quickly. Environment, on the other hand, is like the wind. It either fuels your fire or blows it out. Consider this. What if you're trying to drink more water but you never keep water nearby? You'll drink less. Or if you're trying to stop eating sugar but your pantry is full of candy, you'll eat it eventually. If you're trying to write a book but your desk is cluttered with distractions, you won't write consistently. Your brain follows the path of least resistance. So the smartest way to change your habits is to make the path to good habits frictionless and the path to bad habits full of friction. The 2 laws of environmental design. Let's simplify this into 2 simple laws. Motivation förtjuvgöring kapitalation power speaks more for my bespakenhets grund. One hab to not command. One fight kapitalation to petalition fertalition to petalish. Rotting trofafs. Your brain notices whatever is most visible. So if you want to make a habit stick, put its cue right in front of you. Examples: want to eat fruit? Put a bowl of fresh fruit on your kitchen counter, not in the back of the fridge. Want to play guitar more often? Keep your guitar on a stand in the middle of the room, not in a case under the bed. Want to take vitamins daily? Place them next to your coffee mug so you see them first thing in the morning. The easier the habit is to start, the more likely you are to follow through. 2. Make bad habits invisible and hard. The easiest way to stop a bad habit is to remove the cue entirely. Examples: want to watch less TV? Unplug it after use, or remove batteries from the remote. Want to stop eating junk food? Don't buy it in the first place, or put it on the highest shelf out of sight. Want to stop scrolling at night? Charge your phone in another room. If removing the cue completely isn't possible, make the habit harder to start. Add friction. Put cookies in a container that's hard to open. Log out of social media apps, so you have to type your password every time. Delete shortcuts that make bad habits effortless. The power of environment on identity. In Chapter 2, we talked about identity, becoming the type of person who does the right things automatically. Environment reinforces that identity. If your home is set up like a person who values health, you'll naturally behave like a healthy person. If your workspace is clean and organized, you'll feel like a focused professional. If your phone is distraction-free, you'll think like someone who values deep work. Your surroundings constantly send you signals about who you are. Choose those signals wisely. Design each space for one purpose. One powerful principle of habit design is context specificity. Your brain associates specific environments with specific actions. That's why it's so hard to be productive in bed. Your brain associates your bed with sleep, not work. So design each space for one main purpose. Eat at the dining table, not the couch. Work at your desk, not in bed. Relax in a separate spot that isn't also your workspace. This creates strong mental cues and helps you stay consistent. Example, the healthy kitchen makeover. Here's how you could redesign your kitchen to make healthy eating almost automatic. Clear the counters, remove clutter and keep only healthy options visible. Fruit bowl, blender, water jug. Rearrange the pantry. Put healthy snacks like nuts or protein bars at eye level. Move junk food to hard-to-reach spots. Pre-prep meals. Chop veggies ahead of time so grabbing a healthy snack is faster than ordering takeout. Control portion sizes. Use smaller plates to naturally eat less without feeling deprived. By simply rearranging your environment, you make the desired behavior the default behavior. Social environment matters too. Your physical environment isn't the only thing that influences you. Your social environment plays a massive role. You become like the people you spend the most time with. Want to get fit? Spend time with people who work out. Want to save money? Hang out with people who are financially responsible. Want to grow a business? Talk to other entrepreneurs regularly. If your current environment is full of people who reinforce bad habits, consider limiting exposure, or at least adding more time with people who live the way you want to live. Your assignment: pick one room in your house and do a habit audit. What behaviors does this room currently encourage? Rearrange it so it supports the habits you want. Identify one cue for a bad habit and make it invisible or harder to access. Choose one cue for a good habit and make it obvious and easy. Moving forward, you've now learned how to turn your environment into a silent coach that nudges you towards success. This step alone can transform your consistency and make discipline feel effortless. In the next chapter, we'll talk about friction and momentum, how to make good habits so easy they feel automatic, and bad habits so difficult they naturally fade away. Chapter 5. The 2-minute rule and the power of starting small. Let's face it, most people fail at habits not because they don't want to change, but because they try to change too much too fast. They decide to start working out and commit to a 90-minute gym routine, 6 days a week. They vow to wake up at 5 a.m. and immediately overhaul their entire schedule. They set a goal to read one book a week, but haven't read a full book in years. And after a few days or maybe a week, they give up. Why? Because the habit they chose was too big, too hard, and too far from their current identity. That's where the 2-minute rule comes in. The 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule states this: when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Yes, just 2 minutes. Why? Because the hardest part of any habit is starting. Once you're in motion, momentum carries you forward. Think about it. Once you put on your running shoes, you're more likely to go for a jog. Once you open a book, you're more likely to read more than one page. Once you sit down to write, you're more likely to write more than one sentence. The goal is not to create the perfect habit right away. The goal is to master the art of showing up. Examples of the 2-minute rule. Here's how you can break down big habits into 2-minute versions. Run 3 miles every morning. Put on my running shoes. Do 30 minutes of yoga. Take out my yoga mat. Write 1,000 words a day. Open my laptop and write 1 sentence. Read before bed. Read 1 page. Eat healthier. Chop 1 vegetable. By shrinking the habit to something that feels laughably small, you remove the friction that stops you from starting. 2-minute habits are what we call gateway habits, small actions that naturally lead to bigger actions. Putting on your running shoes is not the end goal, but it gets you moving toward exercise. Opening your journal is not the end goal, but it gets you into the headspace to write. Filling a glass of water is not the end goal, but it makes drinking water almost automatic. This works because of momentum. Newton's law of behavior. Isaac Newton's first law of motion says that an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion. The same is true for human behavior. If you stay still, you're likely to keep procrastinating. If you take one tiny step forward, you're far more likely to keep going. The 2-minute rule hacks this principle by lowering the activation energy so low that you can't say no. Mastering the art of showing up. Here's the mindset shift. It's better to do less than you hoped than to do nothing at all. Missed your full workout? Do one push-up. Don't feel like meditating for 20 minutes? Close your eyes and breathe for 30 seconds. Too tired to write a chapter? Write one sentence. You may think this doesn't matter, but it matters enormously, because habits are not just about results, they're about becoming the type of person who doesn't miss. Example, the one-page-a-day reader. A man who wanted to become a reader made a simple rule for himself. Every night he would read one page of a book before bed. At first it was easy, just one page, but most nights once he started he kept going. Within a year he had read 15 books, simply because he mastered the art of starting, scaling up, from 2 minutes to mastery. You might be wondering, okay, but how do I get from 2 minutes to real results? Here's the answer. Nail the first 2 minutes until it becomes automatic. Gradually increase the habit by 1%, 5%, or 10% at a time. Focus on consistency first, intensity second. For example, read one per week. Week 1, put on running shoes and step outside. Week 2, walk for 5 minutes. Week 3, jog for 5 minutes. Week 4, jog for 10 minutes. By the time you build up to a real workout, the habit is already locked in. The problem with all or nothing thinking. Many people sabotage their progress with perfectionism. They think, if I can't do the full habit perfectly, I won't do it at all. This is the wrong approach. Perfection is not the goal. Consistency is. By allowing yourself to do the smallest version of the habit, you keep your streak alive, you reinforce your identity, and you keep the door open for growth. Your assignment: choose one habit you've been struggling to start, shrink it down to a 2-minute version. Commit to performing just the 2-minute version for the next 7 days. After 7 days, if it feels natural, extend it slightly, but don't miss. Moving forward, you've now learned one of the most powerful tools in behavior change, the ability to start small and let momentum build naturally. In the next chapter, we'll explore the power of tracking and feedback loops, because what gets measured gets improved. Chapter 6. The Feedback Effect. How tracking accelerates growth. Imagine trying to lose weight, but never stepping on a scale. Imagine running a business, but never checking your revenue. Imagine training for a marathon, but never timing your runs. How would you know if you were getting better? The truth is, what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed improves. If you want your habits to stick, you need feedback. Real data that shows you whether you're moving forward, standing still, or slipping backward. This is the power of habit tracking and feedback loops. Why tracking matters. Your brain loves progress. When you see yourself moving forward, even in small ways, it lights up your reward centers and keeps you motivated. Tracking your habits does 3 things. It makes your progress visible. What was once vague becomes concrete. It holds you accountable. You can't hide from the data. You either did the habit or you didn't. It turns your streak into a game. You want to keep the chain going, and that creates momentum. The psychology of the streak. There's something deeply satisfying about seeing a streak grow, whether it's crossing days off a calendar, filling a habit tracker, or logging workouts in an app. It triggers a feeling of accomplishment. This is known as the don't break the chain rule. Once you have a streak going, you'll go out of your way to keep it alive. But here's the key. Tracking works best when it's simple and immediate. How to track your habits. You don't need a fancy app to track habits, though you can use one if it helps. Here are simple options. Paper habit tracker. Draw a grid and mark an X for each day you complete the habit. Bullet journal. Create a monthly log with boxes for each habit. Wall calendar. Cross off each day you succeed. Digital app. Use tools like Habitica, Streaks, or Notion habit trackers if you prefer tech. Choose the method that feels easiest to maintain, because consistency is the goal. The Goldilocks rule of tracking. Tracking should be simple enough that you can do it in seconds. If it feels like a chore, you won't stick with it. You don't need to record every tiny detail. Just mark whether you did the habit or not. Remember, the tracker is a signal, not the habit itself. Don't confuse tracking progress with making progress. The feedback loop, learn and adjust. Tracking is not just about recording what happened. It's about using the data to adjust and improve. Here's how a feedback loop works. Act, perform the habit, Measure, record the result. Learn, analyze what's working and what's not. Adjust, change your approach based on the feedback. Example, on Ruck you start tracking your sleep. You notice that on nights you scroll your phone in bed, your sleep quality drops. You adjust by charging your phone outside your bedroom. Your sleep improves, and now you have data that reinforces the new habit. Visual rewards and motivation. Humans are visual creatures. Seeing your progress builds pride and motivation. That's why many habit trackers use on-ruck progress bars to show completion percentage, color coding, green for success, red for missed days, streak counters, number of consecutive wins. These small visual cues act as instant rewards for your brain. What to do when you miss a day. Even with the best system, you will eventually miss a day. Life happens. Here's the golden rule: never miss twice. Missing once is a blip. Missing twice is the beginning of a new bad habit. So if you miss a workout, do it the next day, even if it's a shorter, easier version. If you miss writing, write a single sentence the next day to keep your streak alive. Your goal is to bounce back quickly. Example, the 1% improvement mindset. Imagine improving just 1% every day. By the end of a year, you wouldn't just be a little better, you'd be 37 times better. Tracking helps you notice those tiny improvements, so you stay encouraged, even when the progress feels invisible day to day. Your assignment: choose one habit you want to track for the next 30 days. Pick a simple tracking method: paper, app, journal. Mark your progress daily, even if you only did the 2-minute version of the habit. At the end of the week, review your data, celebrate wins and look for patterns when you missed. Moving forward, you now have the tools to measure your progress and turn invisible growth into visible proof. In the next chapter, we'll explore the science of rewards and celebration, how to use positive reinforcement to lock in habits and make them irresistible. Chapter 7. The Reward System, Making Habits Irresistible. By now you know how to start small, track progress and stay consistent. But there's one more element that locks habits into place: reward. Your brain is wired to repeat what feels good. If a habit doesn't feel rewarding, it eventually fades. If a habit feels satisfying, your brain tags it as worth repeating, and you do it again and again, often without thinking. This chapter is about learning to work with your brain's natural reward system, so good habits feel pleasurable and irresistible. Dopamine, the motivation molecule. The primary chemical driving habits is dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for motivation and anticipation. Here's the interesting part. Your brain releases dopamine not just when you receive a reward, but when you anticipate one. That's why just smelling coffee can give you a tiny boost of energy before you even drink it, or why hearing the notification sound on your phone can create an instant urge to check it. If you can pair a positive habit with dopamine release, you make it far more likely to stick. Immediate rewards versus delayed rewards. One of the biggest challenges with good habits is that they often have delayed rewards. Saving money. You feel restricted today but wealthy years later. Eating vegetables where you crave sugar today but get long-term health benefits. Bad habits, on the other hand, often have immediate rewards, which is why they're so tempting. Junk food tastes great right now. Scrolling social media gives instant entertainment. Smoking delivers an immediate hit of relief. The trick is to bring the reward for good habits into the present so your brain gets instant satisfaction. How to make habits immediately rewarding. Here are some strategies. Habit pairing. Combine a habit you need to do with something you want to do. Rodent-slided laundry. Listen to your favorite podcast only when running. Watch Netflix only when folding laundry. Sip a special tea only when journaling. Celebrate small wins. Reinforce your habit with a small act of celebration. Smile, fist pump or say yes when you finish. Record your win in a tracker. Visual progress is satisfying. Share your success with a friend or accountability partner. Create a ritual. Make the habit feel enjoyable. Light a candle before meditation. Brew a nice cup of coffee before your writing session. Play uplifting music while cleaning. The role of identity-based rewards. Be careful not to choose rewards that sabotage your identity. Example: I worked out today, so I earned this donut. This reinforces the idea that working out is a chore you must suffer through before indulging. Instead, use identity-based rewards, rewards that reinforce who you want to become. After working out, buy yourself a new pair of running socks. After meditating for 30 days, upgrade your meditation cushion. After saving a certain amount of money, invest in a book on wealth building. Your reward should strengthen, not weaken the habit. One entrepreneur wanted to make saving money exciting. Each time he transferred money into savings, he put $1 into a fun jar. At the end of the month, he used that money for a guilt-free treat, a nice coffee, or small experience. This gave him a tiny, immediate dopamine hit every time he saved, which kept the habit going. Using social rewards. Humans are social creatures. We love recognition. You can make habits more rewarding by adding a social component. Examples: share your progress on social media. Join a group where people celebrate each other's wins. Text a friend every day you complete your habit. When other people cheer you on, the habit becomes emotionally rewarding. Anticipation as reward. Remember, dopamine spikes when you anticipate a reward. You can hack this by making your habit something you look forward to. Plan your workout playlist in advance, so you're excited to hear it. Keep a beautiful notebook so journaling feels special. Save your favorite tea or coffee ritual for your focus time. When your brain looks forward to the habit, you won't need willpower, you'll crave it. Your assignment. Pick one habit you want to reinforce. Choose an immediate reward you can pair with it, something small and satisfying. Track your progress and celebrate every win, even the tiniest ones. Notice how your craving for the habit grows over time as you associate it with pleasure. Moving forward, you've now unlocked the secret to making habits enjoyable and self-reinforcing. When a habit feels good, it becomes effortless, and soon it becomes part of your identity. In the next chapter, we'll explore the power of accountability and community, because nothing accelerates habit change like surrounding yourself with the right people. Chapter 8. The Accountability Advantage. Harnessing social pressure for growth. Here's a question. Why do we show up to work on time but often struggle to show up for ourselves? The answer is simple. Someone is expecting us. When there's a boss, a client, or a colleague counting on you, you feel pressure to deliver. But when the only person expecting you to wake up early, go for a run, or write that chapter is you, suddenly it feels negotiable. This is why accountability is one of the most powerful habit-building tools you can use. Why accountability works? Accountability works because humans are social creatures who want to be seen as consistent with their commitments. Breaking a promise to yourself feels bad, but breaking a promise in front of someone else feels worse. Psychologists call this the consistency principle. Once we make a public commitment, we feel an internal drive to follow through, so we don't look unreliable or weak. This is not about shame, it's about harnessing social pressure in a healthy way. The two types of accountability. There are two levels of accountability you can use. Personal accountability, systems you create for yourself, habit trackers, accountability partners, mastermind groups, coaches, trainers, or mentors. Relational accountability tends to be the strongest because we care deeply about how others see us. Building your accountability system. Here's a simple 3-step process. 1. Make your commitment public. Tell someone what you're going to do and by when. This can be as simple as texting a friend, "I will finish my workout before 8 p.m. tonight. Ask me about it." Or posting to a private group, "I'm writing 500 words a day for the next 30 days. Hold me to it." When you declare your goal out loud, it becomes real. 2. Create a consequence or reward. Add stakes to your habit. If you miss a day, donate money to a cause you don't support. If you succeed, treat yourself to something that reinforces your identity. Behavioral economists have found that loss aversion, the pain of losing, is twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining. So a small negative consequence can be surprisingly motivating. 3. Report your progress regularly. The most powerful accountability systems have a feedback loop built in. Run. Daily check-ins keep habits front of mind. Weekly reviews give you perspective. Monthly reflections help you see long-term growth. This is why group challenges and mastermind groups are so effective. You have to show up and share what you did. The power of community. You become like the people you spend the most time with. If your friends eat junk food, skip workouts, and binge Netflix, you'll eventually adopt similar habits. If your friends are health-conscious, growth-oriented, and ambitious, you'll level up to match them. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." This isn't just a catchy quote. Research supports it. Your habits, income, and even weight are strongly correlated with the people around you. So if you want to change your habits, consider changing your environment and sometimes your circle. Finding accountability partners. Look for people who are supportive but honest. They cheer you on but call you out when you slip. Equally committed. They have goals of their own and take them seriously. Consistent. They actually show up when they say they will. Places to find them. Online communities focused on your goal. Local meetup groups. Professional associations, fitness classes, writing circles, mastermind groups. Sometimes the right accountability partner is a coach or mentor you pay, because financial investment creates commitment on both sides. Example, the workout text chain. A group of 3 friends wanted to get in shape. They created a group text where they each posted a photo after every workout. There were no excuses. If someone skipped, they owed the group $5. The result? They each worked out more consistently than ever before. They encouraged each other on bad days. They turned fitness into a shared mission, which made it fun. This is the power of accountability. Your assignment. Tracking one habit you want to strengthen. Find an accountability partner, someone who supports your growth. Tell them your goal and when you'll check in. Add a consequence or reward to raise the stakes. Report back regularly and notice how it changes your consistency. Moving forward. With accountability, your habits stop being negotiable. You're no longer just relying on willpower. You have someone or something holding you to your word. In the next chapter, we'll explore environment design and habit stacking, the powerful techniques that make good habits automatic and bad habits nearly impossible. Chapter 9. Environment Design, Making Success the Default. Here's the truth. Your willpower is overrated. Most people think success is about waking up with superhuman discipline, grinding through temptations, and forcing themselves to make the right choices. But the science is clear. Your environment has a far bigger influence on your habits than your willpower ever will. This chapter is about designing an environment where good habits are easy, obvious, and automatic, and bad habits become inconvenient, invisible, and eventually extinct. The power of context. Studies show that we are dramatically influenced by our surroundings. The food on your counter, the notifications on your phone, the people in your living room, they all pull invisible strings on your behavior. You don't just make choices based on willpower, you make them based on what's around you. Want to eat healthier? If the first thing you see when you open the fridge is soda and cake, you'll grab soda and cake. But if the first thing you see is washed fruit and prepped veggies, you'll grab those instead, without thinking. This is why environment design is the secret weapon of habit change. The 4 laws of environment design. Think of your environment as a stage where habits play out. If you want to change the play, change the stage. Here's how. 1. Make good habits obvious. Place cues in your environment to remind you of the behavior. Put your gym shoes by the door. Keep a water bottle on your desk. Lay out your journal and pen before bed. If a habit is out of sight, it's usually out of mind. 2. Make good habits easy. Reduce friction between you and the habit. Prep healthy snacks in advance. Put your guitar on a stand in the living room so you'll practice more. Automate savings so money moves into your account without effort. The fewer steps between you and the habit, the more likely you'll do it. 3. Make bad habits invisible. Remove cues that trigger unwanted behaviors. Hide the junk food in an opaque container, or better yet, don't buy it. If the cue is gone, the craving often disappears with it. 4. Make bad habits hard. Increase friction so bad habits take more effort. Delete social media apps from your phone. Make yourself log in on desktop only. Store the TV remote in a drawer, not on the coffee table. Put sweets in the garage freezer so you have to physically walk outside to get them. When you make a bad habit annoying to do, you'll naturally do it less. Habit zoning. Another powerful strategy is to assign specific zones for specific habits. Eat only at the dining table, not on the couch or bed. Do deep work only at your desk. Read only in your reading chair. This creates mental associations that reinforce habits. When you sit in that chair, your brain automatically shifts into reading mode. Prime your environment. Every night, set up your environment for the next day's success. Example: evening routine. Lay out your workout clothes where you'll see them. Fill a water bottle and put it in the fridge. Clear clutter from your workspace so it feels inviting in the morning. This is called environment priming. You are reducing friction for your future self. Example: the TV trick. One family wanted to reduce screen time. They unplugged the TV after every use and stored the remote in a drawer in another room. Result: they watched intentionally, only when they really wanted to. They naturally started reading, talking, and playing games together instead. The environment identity loop. When you design an environment that reflects your values, you reinforce your identity. A home with books on every shelf becomes a place where reading is normal. A kitchen stocked with healthy food becomes a place where nutrition is easy. A workspace free of clutter becomes a place where focus is natural. This is why environment design is so powerful. It works silently, shaping your behavior without you needing to think about it. Your assignment: choose one habit you want to strengthen and one habit you want to weaken. Identify the cue for each habit. Adjust your environment so the good habit cue is obvious and the bad habit cue is hidden. Reduce friction for the good habit and increase friction for the bad one. Spend 5 minutes each evening priming your space for tomorrow's success. Moving forward. When you design your environment intentionally, you stop relying on willpower. You make success the default, and failure becomes harder to fall into. In the next chapter, we'll bring it all together with the compounding effect of habits, where we'll see how small daily actions turn into massive long-term results. Chapter 10. The compounding effect. Turning tiny wins into massive results. Imagine planting a single seed today. Tomorrow you barely notice anything. A week later, there's a small sprout. Months later, it's a thriving plant. And in a year, it's producing fruit. This is what habits do. They start small, almost invisible, but over time they grow into something powerful and life-changing. This final chapter is about the compounding effect, how small, consistent habits lead to massive results over time, and how to stay motivated long enough to see that transformation happen. The mathematics of small gains. Let's do some quick math. If you improve by just 1% every day for 1 year, you don't end up 365% better, you end up 37 times better. That's the magic of compounding. Each improvement builds on the last, so growth accelerates. Unfortunately, the opposite is true too. If you get 1% worse every day, you don't just decline slowly, you spiral downward until you're almost at zero. This is why the tiny choices you make daily matter so much. The valley of disappointment. Here's where most people give up. The early days, when results are slow, you start a new habit. You work out for 2 weeks and don't see visible abs. You save money for a month, and your bank account looks only slightly better. You meditate daily but still feel stressed sometimes. This is called the valley of disappointment, the period where effort and results feel disconnected. But here's the truth. Progress is happening beneath the surface, just like a seed growing roots before it breaks through the soil. Breakthrough moments. Then one day something shifts. Your clothes fit differently. Your savings account passes a milestone. You handle a stressful day with calm you didn't know you had. These are breakthrough moments, the result of many small invisible wins stacking up over time. Success is not one big leap, it's 1,000 small steps. Staying consistent long enough. The key to compounding results is staying in the game long enough for compounding to work its magic. Here are some strategies to stay consistent. Track your progress. See Chapter 6. Measurement keeps you motivated. Celebrate milestones. When you hit 30 days, 90 days, or a year, take time to acknowledge it. Focus on the process. Stop obsessing about results. Fall in love with the daily habit itself. Use identity to anchor your habits. Don't just say, I'm saving money. Say, I'm a person who is financially disciplined. When your habits become part of who you are, quitting feels like betraying yourself. Example, the penny doubling story. Here's a classic thought experiment. Would you rather have $1 million today or a penny that doubles every day for 31 days? Most people take the $1 million, but the penny ends up being worth over $10 million by day 31. Habits work the same way. At first the gains look tiny, but eventually they skyrocket. Long-term thinking. Compounding rewards those who think long-term. The person who invests in health, relationships and skills consistently, not just occasionally, ends up living a radically different life. So ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be 5 years from now? Then design daily habits that make that future inevitable. Your assignment: choose one habit you've built during this journey, your most powerful one. Commit to it for at least 1 year, no matter what. Track your progress and watch for your own breakthrough moment. When it comes, reflect on how far you've come and use that momentum to level up further. Bringing it all together, you've learned how to start small. Chapter 1. How to design cues and routines. Chapter 3. How to track your habits. Chapter 6. How to celebrate and reward progress. Chapter 7. How to shape your environment for success. Chapter 9. And now you know the secret to making these habits last. Patience, persistence, and compounding. Your life will not transform overnight, but if you stay consistent, your life cannot help but transform. By the end of this book, you've built a toolkit for designing a life you love. You've learned to work with your brain, your environment, and your habits, not against them. The results won't just be new habits. There'll be a new identity, a new level of confidence, and a life that reflects who you truly want to be. Start today. Take one small action, then take another tomorrow, and let the compounding effect do the rest.